Could a new Old Republic video game reimagine the canon for future Star Wars films? Let's talk about that right now. Hello everybody and welcome back to another movie news video. My name is Joker and today we're discussing the future of Star Wars with an Old Republic video game. So I've discussed this hundreds of times on my channel, but this is kind of interesting and it's a good talking point and I want your opinion on it. Ever since the Lucasfilm buyout from Disney, everyone was upset that we lost the Old Republic storyline. From both video games to several books, comics, you name it, it was all erased from history. And from the news that we were going to be getting many more Star Wars films in the new canon, everyone wanted to see more of the Old Republic. And this is really no surprise to anyone. Since the Disney buyout of Lucasfilm, everyone has been talking about the possibilities of getting an Old Republic movie or a TV show or something that would bring it back into canon. But could a video game actually be the reason that that comes back into canon? News from IGN gives us rumors that the future of Star Wars could be determined by the release of a reimagined Knights of the Old Republic video game. And after hearing this news and getting excited, it made me think a lot about some of the rumors that were going on in the past, especially those around a Knights of the Old Republic project being in the works from Disney and Lucasfilm. We were all wondering if it was going to be a movie or a TV series, and for a little bit there, it did kind of look like it. We got several rumors of a Knights of the Old Republic style script that was being written to be a 3-part movie solely based on the story of the first game. We also had Benioff and Weiss who were brought on to do their own Star Wars trilogy that was rumored to be based on the Old Republic storyline. But of course, after the series finale of Game of Thrones and some interesting interviews, they were let go from the project. So the idea of that movie, or that movie series, is still up in the air. And the fact that this is mainly video game talk makes this really interesting because at the same time, when Disney was talking about all the rumors of there's going to be Old Republic stuff coming, it could be, there might be a Knights of the Old Republic movie, or it might be a movie based in the Old Republic era. It was never really concrete saying, yes, it was going to be a movie. It was always rumored that it was going to be Knights of the Old Republic, and since they were always focused on putting out more Star Wars films, everyone just assumed that it was going to be a movie that they were talking about when mentioning Knights of the Old Republic and that whole Old Republic era in general. But this news from IGN has me thinking, what if this is going to be their way of reintroducing the Old Republic for future Star Wars films? This thought came into my head really because of Jedi Fallen Order. It was a very successful game, shockingly, that came from EA, which is notorious for making the worst Star Wars games ever made, but it's the fact that this is one of those games that finally got off the cutting room floor and into stores without getting canceled at the very last minute. We've had several Star Wars projects in LucasArts throughout, in between the buyout, that were canceled because of the Disney buyout and just creative differences that ended up falling through. We had that open world Uncharted style Star Wars game that was cut, Star Wars 1313 got cut, and even way back in the day with, KOTOR 3 and the possibilities of a Battlefront 3 that were both canceled. Of course, 2 of those being a little bit older, but the fact is that this is the first story-based Star Wars game we've had in several years that was actually able to make it into stores. I honestly think the first one before that was Force Unleashed 2. I think that's the last one we actually had that had a story base to it that wasn't a Lego-based game. But I like the idea of this rumor being a reimagining of the original game, because think of it like you could take the original aspect from the game, keep what you liked, and then change some of the story a little bit. Now, a lot of people might not like that idea. They think the Old Republic is perfect as it is. They want to just take the Old Republic game and make it canon again. I agree with that. I think it would be a really smart way to go. Plus, it's got some great storytelling arcs. It takes place 4,000 years before the events of the Phantom Menace, so you'd really only have to change everything after that we haven't even seen to begin with. So you could just take those 2 games, bring them back into canon, and it would be perfectly fine. But on the same page, it could kind of be like the Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy. With the original Thrawn trilogy not being canon anymore, when they brought Thrawn back into the new Disney canon, Timothy Zahn was brought back to rewrite the Thrawn trilogy. Now, while both trilogies are drastically different as far as when they take place and what happens in between them, there is a good majority of the books that are the same from the original trilogy that Timothy wrote. So in the same sense, you could take both KOTOR 1 and 2, bring them back into canon, alter some of the characters and story arcs along the way, and then put it back into canon for the reimagining of this game to bring forth future films. But adding aspects from both games into one reimagined game that is now canon could bring forth so much more canon material, from movies to books, comics, even something on Disney+. They're very possible ideas that you can get from this, and I think it's a smart way to go when you want to reintroduce some of the Old Republic stuff that all of the fans are wanting. And I think this works well with the fact that a lot of the rumors right now about the next 2022 Star Wars film that could supposedly be directed by Taika Waititi, that is also still a rumor, is that this new set of films is going to be based in the High Republic era, which takes place before The Phantom Menace, around the time of Darth Bane, up to about 500 years before the events of The Phantom Menace. So there's not necessarily the Old Republic, but a series where everyone was in a renaissance, so to speak. There was no war, the Sith were supposedly gone, and the galaxy was at a time of peace. Interesting way to look at it, but that's another way to start building back into the past of Star Wars. So you bring forth a KOTOR game that is now canon, you take those ideas, you bring it forward, you make movies out of it, and you can combine that timeline so you can have an established Old Republic era. The idea of Darth Revan has already been recanonized from the visual dictionary of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, as well as the Black Series Revan Jedi action figure that came out recently. And on top of that, the time period that is the Old Republic is still canon, it still exists, it just hasn't been fortified as far as what actually happened during that time period as opposed to what happened in the Legends timeline. Again, this is all rumor and speculation and my own personal opinions. Take it all with a grain of salt. Nothing could come out of this or everything could come out of this. We really don't know, and it's really hard to tell, especially with Kathleen Kennedy's contract coming up real soon. That's about to be over, and she's possibly going to be stepping down from Lucasfilm. Someone else is going to take over, and Star Wars is going to go in a completely different direction. But what do you guys think? Do you think the success of Fallen Order is going to bring about better canonized story Star Wars games, which includes the Old Republic, either in a reimagined format or the original games just brought back into canon, just update them with some new graphics and put the games back out? And do you think this will help push the campaign forward for future Star Wars films being based in the Old Republic era? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to talk about it. But until we get any news about this at all, because right now there's literally nothing but rumors, that is going to be all for this video, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more movie news videos with a little bit of a video game mix, or if you'd like to see anything else. But until then, and as always, I will see you guys next time.